Hello, my name is Ezra Storment, and this is my presentation on learning voices through imitation. Now, what does this mean, you might ask? Well, let me ask you a question. What does it mean to create a voice for yourself? What does it mean? How do you do it? We do not simply pull voices out of thin air, do we? No, that is impossible, right? We learn these voices through imitation. Did you know that when you are a baby, you babble every phoneme that exists in the world that is used for language? You expand yourself to try and see what your mouth can create. But it is only through watching the parents that you'll learn what phonemes you need to hold on to, right? Like you hear your parents say this, and you think th. That's an important sound. I hear that all the time. This thing, or that thing, or those things, or this baby. So the baby thinks this. Okay. My parents think it's important. They operate in the world better than I do. They're really smart, making calculations, you know. Baby say, okay, I hold on to this phoneme. And then, baby start to associate the sounds he's making, or she's making, with important words that make up language. So your mother, she'll take this, and every time she gives it to you, she says, this is pillow. She picks it up and says, pillow. And she puts it over here and says, pillow's over here. Or she says, hand me the pillow. And someone gives her this thing. I start to think, okay, so this is a pillow, right? And it's through this imitation that we build our structures for being able to talk like I am talking now. You all did this, so you all possess this ability to imitate. And it's fascinating how far you can stretch yourselves. I promise you. Now you speak in an accent currently, although you may not tell yourself so. Everyone likes to think that they don't talk in an accent, but we all have accents, even me. And that's good. You need to embrace your accent. Figure out where your voice starts so you can figure out where you can take it. So what is the key from knowing my accent or hearing my voice and getting my voice to sound like someone else's? How does that process work? We have to figure this out, because somewhere along the way, from baby to adult, we forget how to do this, right? We don't know how to imitate again. We have to teach ourselves. I think as adults, one of the important things of maturity is teaching yourself to remember how to play, right? And that's what creating a voice is, it's playing. So, say, I'll give you an example of an impression I learned at a very young age that made me expand my vocal repertoire farther than I ever thought it would take me. I thought I was learning a party trick, something that was cool to show a couple of friends, But what I discovered was that I was able, this one imitation opened the doors to so many voices that I could create for characters that spanned it across all of time. It's insane. So this impression, and I am not joking, was Peter Griffin. At a very young age, I was a big Seth MacFarlane and Peter Griffin fan. So I says, why can I not sound like Peter Griffin? Seth MacFarlane does not have that accent, yet he sounds like Peter Griffin. There's no reason that I cannot sound like Peter Griffin. And so, I watch this Family Guy, I laugh. But I stopped laughing and I paused the show. And I rewind it. And I hear Peter and I really listen. And I listen to how he formulates his sentences. Where his accent comes from, what words he emphasizes, what vocal struggles does he deal with, right? And when you realize these things, now each one of these things that you learn to build to get to Peter Griffin, you can use each one of these building blocks in a different toolkit. For example, you learn Boston accent when you have to learn Peter Griffin, right? But you can take that, and you don't have to sound like Peter Griffin, right? So this is Peter, but in order to get here, I had to take the Peter Griffin voice, and I had to take it step by step, and I had to move towards it. When I started doing Peter Griffin, I was very bad. Whenever you start an impression, you're going to be very bad. Whenever you start most things, you're very bad. But it doesn't take much time for our brain to process and learn and try to match up what you're trying to do with the reality of the limitations of this muscle in your throat. Make no mistake, it's a muscle like anything else. You can exercise it, and it will do amazing things from you, and you can sound like you are from lands that you've never been before. It's like traveling while all staying in the same place. So Peter Griffin. So the Peter Griffin accent, I started right away. And one of the first things I noticed was the Boston accent, of course, but also the way he rasped his S's. You know, he rasped all of his S's. So when Peter Griffin talks, he does this thing with all of his S's. I say, okay, so I've got Boston, right? I got the Boston accent, I kind of figured that out. And then I added the rasp, all right? So now we got a Boston accent, a little rasp. And I was like, that's still not quite it. I'm like, that's close, but we're not there yet. And then what I realized is the cadence of the character. Character. Do you hear how Peter Griffin says that? Character. You break out the cadences of how he says things, and this only happens through repetition. So I would build each characteristic, like the rasp, the Boston accent, and then I finally realized my problem was that I was doing Peter Griffin down here. But Peter's a bit of a child, and Seth, especially in the later years, started playing Peter Griffin at a higher register, right? Because Peter was essentially a grown child, and that was an important thing. So you can take each aspect, the raspy S, the Boston accent, the way he says his words, the way he says his words, you can, once you learn an impression, you can take that and it opens the key, it opens the door to all these things. So when you're learning one impression, you're learning a whole bunch of impressions. Now the way I think to do it is to take a clip, if you can, and now we have YouTube, so this has been made very easy for us, but it is to take a clip and cut one line that you particularly enjoy. I think it's nice to enjoy it, although make it something you enjoy, but you're not afraid to work to death so you no longer enjoy it, if that makes sense. Because what you're going to do is you're going to take this one line and you're going to say it over and over and over again until you can find out what is missing, until you get to the voice you're trying to imitate. Right? So for Peter Griffin, for example, for me, it was, hey Lois, go get me a beer. And that sentence was important to me because I wanted to say the S in Lois. That was really the big one. And it's kind of funny, Peter, telling his wife to get him a beer. And so then I figured I'd learn the baby. I'd learn Stuart Griffin. And through that process, you learn this sort of upscale British, and you learn this, the way to use fillers and that kind of thing, Each impression, you have to remember, it's not just the voice itself, it's the cadence. That's what most people forget. It's how they say things. And Christopher Walken is a wonderful example, because the reason so many people can do his impression is because his cadences, or the way he says words, really stands out compared to the competition, So when you hear that, it's like the cadence comes naturally, right? Because Christopher Walken is going to talk like this, right? Right? So you can add the punctuations to sound like him like this. Where in someone who does not have a cadence that stands out like that, like a Peter Griffin or a Stewie Griffin, you have to listen for a long time until you figure out what their particular cadences are. But then you can sort of imitate the rhythm they have when they speak. So take it one sentence at a time and move forward. I think this is enough. This feels like a good lesson for today. I have one closing point. To do a voice starts with imitation, but what it ends with is the embodiment of a character, right? It's not, can I sound like Peter Griffin better than anybody else? That's not the thing. It's, can I sing like Peter Griffin? Can I dance like Peter Griffin? Can I live like Peter Griffin? Can I embody Peter Griffin? Can I get electrocuted as Peter Griffin? Can I do Shakespeare as Peter Griffin? Where I start is I start with one line, right, like I said, and I build on that till I get a voice. But then once I think I have a voice, to test myself and to see if I really have it, I will do Shakespeare. Something like out, brief candle, life is but a walking shadow. It is a poor player that frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. You know, something like that. Shakespeare's not my particular forte, but Peter Griffin does what he can. So, it is important that you start with imitation and allow these imitations to guide inspirations in creating entire new characters. Can you do anything as these characters? Can you be electrocuted? Can you fall off a cliff? Can you do an entire lecture on voices and an accent that is not yours? My name is Ezra Storment. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a good day.